Welcome to the India Development Debate. I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Is sea water the answer to India's water woes? That is what the Niti Aayog may be contemplating. Reports suggest that the government think tank is looking at setting up floating desalination plants, making use of India's 7,800-kilometer long coastline. Essentially, treated seawater would be made fit for consumption through these plants and could go a long way in slaking India's rising thirst. Remember, Niti Aayog has said in a report that 21 Indian cities could run out of groundwater by 2020. In any case, a lack of adequate, safe water in a number of urban and rural areas across India is now being widely reported. So, is desalination the answer for us? Currently, countries in the Middle East use this process. In fact, 70% of Israel's household water comes from desalination. To speak on this, I am joined today by Avinash Mishra, advisor at the Niti Aayog, Amla Ruia, Indian social activist specializing in water conservation, Dr. Amarjeet Singh, former Secretary, Ministry of Water Resources, Dr. Shailesh Nayak, former Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, and Dr. M.A. Atmanand, Director, National Institute of Ocean Technology. We're also speaking today with S. Vishwanath, water conservation expert and founder of Biome Solutions. So we've tried to bring together on this panel the very best who understand this subject and can put more light on it. But let me begin by speaking with Mr. Mishra. Any other details you can share with us, Mr. Mishra, or any idea of how this desalination project would go forward and why do you think is a good idea in the first place?
No, actually, as far as Niti Aayog is concerned, we are contemplating various options.
Okay.
But this particular article which has come in the Economic Times today, I don't feel that at this juncture we can associate ourselves with this, because this is something which how it has come or how it has emerged, I don't know. But desalination is certainly an option which we are thinking seriously. Only constraint here is the supply level of the desalination plant. It is little costly. It is 10 to 15 paisa per liter as compared to whatever the municipal supplies are there as on date. So, it should be the cost comparison should be there with vis-a-vis the municipal supplies. Moreover, we can certainly think of to provide the water for the industrial units, particularly to those units, those are requiring a good quality of water, like the units of the pharmaceuticals and many other such chemical producing industries. So, it could be a better option for them, and not presently we are not really thinking seriously for providing the drinking water, because we can really harvest the rainwater, we can conserve the rainwater, and we can provide the water sufficiently to our citizens. I don't feel means this is what which has appeared today.
Okay, no, so I get your point. I get your point.
Associate ourselves at this juncture.
No, I get your point, Avinash Mishra. Desalination could be one of the many other options India looks at, and which makes perfect sense, because we have
options. Yes.
Yeah, we have a good supply of fresh water every year, unlike some of the countries which depend heavily on desalination currently, either in the Middle East or Israel for that matter. But let's look at desalination for industrial use and whether that works as well. Dr. Atmanand, in your view, is it worth the effort putting up these desalination plants? Because as Mr. Mishra also mentioned and is well known, these consume a high amount of energy. They have environmental impact as well.
Thank you very much. I would like to concentrate mainly on the desalination technology which we have developed in NIOT, not the conventional membrane technology which has got lot of environmental impacts, because that gives out brine which is not good for the environment. The technology which we have developed is called low temperature thermal desalination, which is nothing but mimicking the natural rain. What we do is that we take the surface seawater and take it to a vacuum chamber and reduce the pressure, and the water boils at room temperature, and the steam which is formed is cooled by the deep sea cold water, and you get really demineralized water. This technology has been successfully done in the islands of Lakshadweep, in Kavaratti, Minicoy and Agathi, and due to the success of this, the ministry has asked us to do it in 6 other islands, and the work is proceeding. We also have used the same technology in thermal power stations, where you know that there is lot of waste heat reject, which is also environmentally not friendly. So we take the hot water that is being given out from the thermal power station and use the surface seawater for cooling, and we get fresh water. This technology also has been on a pilot scale done in near Chennai, a place called Ennore Thermal Power Station, and we are in the process of setting up similar plant in Tuticorin Thermal Power Station. According to me,
yes, Doctor,
we will be having lot of thermal.
No, I just want to come. I understand
Yes,
you're explaining the process. I understand you're explaining the process, and it's important to understand. But you know, for the lay person watching this show, and for all of us who may not understand the technical process that goes into desalination, we just want to understand if it's safe and if it's a good option, if this water could be fit for human consumption and it's the right option for India.
Yes, what I would like to indicate is that this water is consumed by the people in Lakshadweep, and the simple thing is that the gastroenteritis which was prevalent in the island, which was rampant, has drastically reduced due to the consumption of this water, which has got 200 ppm. That is what as per standards it is quite normal, and we can also have very good environmental facility. I will just tell you what happens. In a normal thermal, in a membrane type desalination, you take 100 seawater, let us say 100. What is done is the salt from 90% of the water is put into 10%, and heavily concentrated brine is discharged into the sea, which is environmentally unfriendly, but you get 90% of fresh water. Whereas we do it just opposite. We take the salt from 10% of the water and put it in 90%, and it is not at all concentrated brine, it is environmentally friendly, but we get only 10% of the water. Maybe I can say that due to the once the technology improves and lot of many new technologies when it comes up, this also could be made more efficient. So definitely it is an environmentally friendly and people friendly, and it could be consumed by anybody. There's no issue at all.
Okay, on a larger scale, let me go to Dr. Amarjeet Singh. On a larger scale, what is your view on the efficacy of this one option that we could look at? And I'm also coming from the point of view that Israel's desalination plants has been of great interest to us. Over here, the Indian government has wanted to study how it would work. Is that a model that works for us, Dr. Singh?
Thank you. I think we don't have to look at Israeli initiatives piecemeal. We look at the whole picture. If you look at India, 78% of the water is consumed in agriculture. If you could use it more effectively, we could spare so much water for other purposes, drinking, industry and other purposes. Look at the picture. We have almost created irrigation infrastructure for 113 million hectares. We use only 89 million hectares. If this gap could be plugged, so much more food grains, so much less water utilized. We have to learn from the states. The state of Madhya Pradesh has done outstandingly well. From about 8 lakh hectares, they've gone up to 3.6 million hectares. They become the second largest producer of food grains after Punjab, which was unthinkable a few years ago. Look at the way Punjab has enhanced its productivity. We have to look at how they've done. They produce almost double the wheat and rice that of MP, which is a well-performing state now. We have to look at these issues. How can we use water more effectively? The other part is look at the state of Maharashtra. Sugarcane takes only 4% of the area, yet it consumes 60% of the water. Isn't it ridiculous? Why do
Yeah.
we need to grow sugarcane there? Sugarcane, the sugar sells at less than the Indian price in the international market. And there's so much water available in the eastern part of the country where sugarcane could be grown. It used to be grown in UP and Bihar and such other areas. That's one part. The second part is when Punjab grows rice, it is virtually exporting rice to the water-rich states uh, outside the country as well as in the eastern part of the country. Why can't we have adequate policy measures to shift the production of rice and wheat to the eastern states which have enough water, fortunately, at the moment?
Yes.
To my mind, it appears it's more a problem of management than shortages. And one last point, the groundwater takes almost 84% of our irrigation needs. It's only 40% of the water resource in the country, yet it takes care of about 84% of the irrigation and almost 80% of drinking water in the rural areas. Now, if you look at the experience of Gujarat, their Jyotirgram Yojana, what they've done under that scheme, the double feeders for providing electricity to the farmers, water meters, charging for water, checking filtrages, and using water effectively through micro irrigation. It is very interesting to note that the level of water in Punjab has gone down, has improved only by 1%. The groundwater level has improved by 50% over
Yes.
the period 2004 to 2017. I think we need to look at these initiatives and scale them up, run them effectively, and maybe consider desalination as an option in a few areas where we need to do it. But on a larger scale, we need to look at how we can use our water more effectively.
And I'm going to take that question to Ms. Amla Ruia. Where do you stand on this debate, ma'am? Is desalination the need of the hour?
Certainly, desalination could be a solution, but I would say that it should be localized for the coastal belt rather than taking long pipelines and so much expense of laying the infrastructure for carrying the water. I think also check dams have been very successful in catching the rain. We can, as our Prime Minister has said, that we have to conserve every drop of water which falls from the heavens. So, we should go for contour trenching as we were doing in the past, but not effectively and not in sufficient quantity. We can do the contour trenching, holding all the drops that fall on earth. We can have check dams whereby a lot of agriculture can happen in an irrigated way. We can the farmers are taking 3 and 4 crops even in areas in Rajasthan where there is so little rain. For instance, in Bombay, we could do rainwater harvesting of the buildings, and all the societies could catch the rainwater and put it in bore wells from where the consumption can happen. So, this can really take 70% of the, this can take care of the 70% of the need of the people. Here now we are having pipelines coming from Tansa and Pawai at such enormous costs, whereas we could have taken care of it by doing roof water harvesting, and thus this roof water harvesting, putting it in bores and utilizing it for daily consumption can be a very big and successful option for urban areas. And check dams and other contour trenching and things like that for rural areas which have been successful in the past. I am not saying that we should not fall back on the technology which is giving us this solution of cleansing the removing the salt from the sea water and utilizing it. There have been successful experiments and Israel has been doing it, but Israel, if you remember, is such a small country, whereas the need of our country is so enormous. So, we have to take into account all these various problems, all these various solutions to take care of the water scarcity which is facing us in a very stark way. We must not wait to become absolutely water deficient and then wake up. We have to take preventive measures and start upon all these various solutions simultaneously.
No, that is true. That is true. But there has to be a focus in one area. And let me bring in S. Vishwanath into the conversation here. Either your policy focus will be on greatly reducing the amount of water that is being consumed. Of course, harvesting and conservation will continue. Or you will look at increasing the supply. And the only real way of increasing the supply is desalination. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, we have to learn lessons from Australia. They went through something called the Big Dry when there was a large-scale drought for many years and the reservoirs ran out of water. So they contemplated on all the options available to them. As was rightly pointed out, we have to look at all the options available to that particular place of demand: rainwater, surface water, groundwater, treated wastewater, and desalinated water. And some of these options have to be weighed in terms of both costs and in terms of the benefits they bring. The thing with desalination is, as has been pointed out, it can be made more eco-friendly, and that's a very welcome move. But once you invest in a desalination plant, you have to run it at full level for it to have the most economic benefits, right? So therefore, once we look at the place of demand and look at agricultural water being replacing inefficient agricultural use, that water coming into cities, and then take a call on desalination would be wise. In island places and in coastal cities and for industries, it would be appropriate, but perhaps not so for agricultural use or for other places.
Okay, let me come to Dr. Shailesh Naik for his first take on the issue. Dr. Naik, the issue with desalination is, and here I'm caveating the fact that Avinash Mishra has said this is one of the many things we're looking at, but we know that desalination is something that has definitely been the buzzword, especially after the situation we saw in Chennai. Do you think it's the right way for us considering high energy costs and high environmental costs?
I think we have to look at this problem of desalination, whether that particular region is water scarce area or water stressed area. That means whether we need about 1700 meter cube water per capita. If it is not there, then it is a water stress, and if below 1000 cubic meter, it becomes water scarce. So this technology we need to use only where we are in water scarce or water stress area. That is number one. Number two, how do we do desalination is also very important. The current way of using the membrane or a reverse osmosis is highly environmental, has a high environmental impact, especially in the areas where you discharge the wastewater. The aquatic life cannot survive. So we also need to look at the technologies which are environmental friendly, and I think the technology developed by NIOT on a low thermal desalination, which is being used in Lakshadweep very successfully for more than 10 years, that kind of thing we need to promote. I think it is necessary that we need to scale up this, which is about 150,000 liters a day. We have to scale it up to 10 million or 100 million liters a day. And it is maybe difficult, the engineering may be not easy, but I think we need to plan and invest in this to have such technologies which are environmental friendly. And I understand that some feasibility study has been done by NIOT, and the cost when we look at it may be high, but if you really look at the cost at which we are getting water in the most metros like even Bombay or Delhi or a Chennai or a Bangalore, it is coming from far away places. It's not locally provided, and we do not put a cost of that water coming from a far off. But while we are talking about such developing new technology, immediately the cost comes into a picture. So we need to see what is the other options available or not, and if not this option available, we need to look at the desalination, because water, providing water is one of the right of the people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to explore all possible ways and means to provide sufficient water.
Okay, let me open up this debate and ask our participants to come in on the other points that come to mind. And S. Vishwanath, you were nodding along in agreement there. Do you think desalination definitely needs to be an option on the table, considering the huge water usage that we're currently seeing, considering the lack of safe water? A large amount of water that we consume is contaminated. So from the safety angle, do you think desalination becomes an important perspective to look at?
Well, in my opinion, given the experience that we have worldwide, as was rightly pointed out, it should be used as the last weapon with us. We should look at it as the last option. In Australia itself, as I was mentioning, the desalination plants had to be mothballed, because when the reservoirs fill up, and when there's enough rain, and if we do good job with rainwater harvesting, groundwater recharge, and managing our surface water reservoirs, desalination becomes the most costly and the most environmentally unfriendly option. So we should keep it open, but we should use it as perhaps the last option that we have.
Dr. Atmanand, where do you come in on that point? Do you think it's right now a bit of kite flying when we talk about desalination on such a large scale?
Definitely large scale desalination, which is being discussed, that is the membrane technology using reverse osmosis, is environmentally unfriendly, as I explained a little while before. But the technology which I explained using the low temperature thermal desalination, it is environmentally friendly. We don't discharge any brine, and it is friendly. And Dr. Shailesh Naik just now explained, we have the plan to have a very large 10 MLD plant and offshore floating platform. Of course, the cost is quite high. We have made the DPR also, and this is also being projected as one of the options. And the cost reduction will come only if we multiply and have more numbers. How the cost for RO plants have come down, it is because the technology is mature and it is being used worldwide everywhere. So the cost has come down. Even in our case, the one which is in the thermal power station, the cost would be of the order of 15 to 20 paise per liter, considering all the capital and other investments. And if you don't take, and if you take only the running cost, it would be less than 10 paise per liter. So definitely these are new technologies will have to be taken up. And one more option is solar thermal desalination, which on a pilot scale we have done with our ministry's support in Kanyakumari, where solar power, that is solar energy, is used. And we have got a technology called multi-effect distillation, where water is now produced and it is being consumed at the Vivekananda Kendra in Kanyakumari. So these are to be taken up on a larger scale, multiplied, and also scaled up. Scaling up is quite important, because you cannot just take as a small 1 lakh liters per day as we do in the islands in the coastal regions. You cannot do it in Chennai or any other larger coastal cities. Yeah. Definitely it has to be scaled up. So scaling up has to be done, and we are ready to do that also.
I'm going to come and ask now all of my experts the one thing they need to see happen, or what they think should be the top priority to make sure that India is water safe. Let me start with Mr. Avinash Mishra. Mr. Mishra.
See, as far as the various measures of water conservation are concerned, we can see that so many water tanks, ponds, lakes, those used to be there earlier in our ecosystem, they got depleted, they got encroached, or in some cases what I found, they got silted up. So it's a high time that we should really desilt them, we should conserve them, and we should make them the encroachment free. For instance, in Chennai, there used to be 68 water bodies or lakes all around Chennai, but now they have come down to some 28. So, these water bodies, those were the source of groundwater recharge, those were the source of surface drinking water, they all got depleted. So, it is high time really we should go for the water conservation and on a mass scale, in a abhiyan, in a mission mode. So, Ministry of Jal Shakti has initiated a Jal Shakti Abhiyan,
Yes.
and in the first instance 255 districts have been taken, where actually in these all 255 districts, all actually these are the districts those are receiving is southwest monsoon. So, in these districts before the monsoon we will be starting and depleting various measures, various water bodies, and then we will try to conserve the water. This will certainly recharge the water. There are various such successful example like Jal Yukt Sivir in Maharashtra. There are Mukhyamantri Jal Samvardhan Yojana in Rajasthan, and various such examples. Even the Mission Kakatiya in Telangana. So, these are the successful examples.
All right, but
the
these
chain of the cascade of tanks, though. Yeah, pardon.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
no.
yes,
I was just saying that these are some examples, but I think we need to act on a more widespread mission. I'm going to come to everyone with their responses, and I request you all to please keep it brief. As Vishwanath, let me come to you. What do you think is the one top priority the government should have right now? Usually it's all about asking people to conserve water in their houses, but the scale at which we are right now of a crisis, we need to go beyond that to government policy, isn't it?
Yeah, so we must realize that India is a groundwater dependent civilization. A whole bunch of our water, especially drinking water, comes from groundwater. So what I would want is better groundwater governance, a clear understanding of the aquifers that we have, and groundwater management in conjunction with surface water, as was mentioned before, so that groundwater becomes our lifeline to tide us over droughts and distress years.
All right, let me come to Ms. Ruia. On what do you think should be the #1 priority for the government and for all of us going ahead?
See, if we can take learning from the example of Chennai, as has already been pointed out, that most of the lakes were made into colonies. They were silted, they were glazed and made into colonies. So, with the result that the groundwater was not recharged, and therefore, the Chennai crisis is a man-made crisis. So, here what we can do on a very, very large scale, we are overlooking the great catchment which our express highways and all our roads are. Why can't we collect that water, pass it through various methods of purification and use it for the cities and the agricultural purposes along the highways, so there is not so much of pipelines being laid, and water is available locally, and it is at low cost, and it is plentiful. It is our groundwater, there is no problem in recharging the groundwater, because the rains are abundant to fulfill everybody's needs. So, we must bank on that as one of our major ways of repleting our groundwater resources.
Okay, I just have time for one.
There are so many wells in Bombay.
Yes, I just have time for one more comment, and I'm.
There are so many pockets of wells. Yes.
Yes, I'm afraid I've run out of time. I'm just going to go to Mr. Nayak for just his last word on what should be our way forward. Yes.
If I have heard you correctly, the what you want is the priority for the government. I think the one important thing which is required is the comprehensive framework for the water policy. And what I mean is, there are three aspects of the policy. One, we need to understand the hydrology, and this is an area which is least addressed in our country. And that's a natural process by which water moves from ocean to atmosphere to land and back to ocean. Now, this process is not well understood. So, we need lot of observation network, both satellite and ground based observations, to understand these processes. Now, The one good thing is already begun. The Water Ministry has that Water Resources Information System, is one of the classic example that how the information can be organized and put to use. But this needs to be updated and intensified. The other aspect is we have not been considering the impact which is going to be made by the climate change. We have already seen that the low and moderate events of the rain has been decreasing and the extreme events have been increasing. Now this is going to lead to less percolation to the ground and more the runoff. So we need the models, and already Ministry of Earth Science has the projections for the next 50 years or so. We need to take those projections seriously and plan that what is going to happen to the rainfall pattern in future and what we need to do to address some of these issues. The second, which is very important, is that what is the water setting of the each area, and we can go up to district level and see that what is the water availability from a different region, different sources, and what are our different options. The third is the most important is the consciousness of the people. And I think many of my colleagues have suggested about the various measures. Unless the people also participate in the water conservation and the its better use of it, the thing will not work. And the fourth, which is also linked to all these three, is the response of the government. We have seen that the water is the subject of a state, and except the interstate river, which is the central government, the response of each government, or especially state government, is not similar when the crisis comes. And that is because of the various issues. I think we need to energize the various state governments along with the central government to see that all aspects of the water setting, which I have been talking about, are taken and addressed.
Absolutely. No, there's a long haul to go. There's a long haul to go. I'm, afraid I couldn't come to everyone else for their last comments, but I will have to wrap this debate here with the promise that we're on top of the story, and we'll invite a lot of you back again for more on it as we continue to track the water crisis, which needs a long drawn, well thought of policy from the government and some awareness from all of us, including you and me. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.